see we have incredible stone to work with. You know how I love to work with all the different types of stone. It's always good when we start setting boulders. John, being a big reptile guy, he wanted to create a habitat where he could actually let his reptiles kind of roam around. The Earthworks team, they always produce some incredible pieces for us. I mean, just check this thing out.
It's mission critical!
It is!
It is!
Hey, what's up everybody? Ed the Pond Professor here. I am coming to you from my office right here in St. Charles, Illinois, and we have a really cool project that we're getting involved with. So we got contacted by Jason Duffney of Earthworks, which we've done a ton of projects with them over the years. We have this really cool opportunity to do a recreational style pond for one of his customers, as well as do some stuff at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm. So this is really, really cool. But what I want to really talk about is the recreational style pond. Now, when we're doing a recreational style pond, I always want to focus on that ecosystem style concept, because this is kind of the bones of everything. This is what's really going to make this thing click. So now, if you've seen any of my vlogs over the years, you know that an ecosystem is critical for the functioning of any type of system, especially an aquatic ecosystem, and it can actually get quite complex. I want to kind of go through and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Here's a picture of actually one of my favorite fishing places. This is way up in northern Wisconsin. Again, I just took this picture just so you can understand what I'm thinking about when I talk about an ecosystem style pond. So this is known as a mesotrophic ecosystem. So that means it has a medium amount of nutrients in the water. It gives us good water quality. This is incredible snorkeling going around this particular area, this little cove on part of a larger lake system. But you can see the abundance of vegetation. The fishing is incredible, and that's because there's food in the water. It is the building blocks of ecosystems. It's going to be the nitrogen, the phosphorus, the iron, the potassium, all those different components that are actually going to be synthesized through the process of photosynthesis to actually create different types of growth. Now, one of the challenges with having a lot of nutrients in the water is it can actually become out of balance. You could have an algal bloom. You could have a shift in actually the water quality as well as clarity. So what we are talking about doing with our recreational style ponds is creating a system that we could actually manage all of that water. Another one of my little fishing spots that I go to, this is way up in the northern parts of Michigan, but I wanted to show this picture because I think it's really, really important. This water is pristine. This is a trout stream. This would be an oligotrophic ecosystem, which means it has very few nutrients, doesn't have a lot of food. So because of that, you have sparse vegetation. Down here on that on the rock and gravel, you're actually going to see all types of growth, and that's because there's still some food in the water. And when you mix that in with sunlight, you have the right conditions, you have that right recipe for life to occur, it's going to happen. When we're designing and building a recreational style pond, I don't want it to be sterilized. There's no chlorine in it. We're not killing the life. We're creating water the way nature intended. This is the basis, literally the basis of all food chain starts right here. So basically what we're doing is we're deconstructing an aquatic ecosystem, and we're going to put it back together the way we want it to look. Here's a picture of one of our ecosystems. So this has got the boulders, it's got the fish inside of it, different types of aquatic vegetation growing from the perimeter, so it's a balanced ecosystem. Again, another great illustration. You could see we have our waterfall up here on the top. That's helping create that life-giving oxygen. We have all that incredible aquatic vegetation going around the perimeter. We have river rock going through everything. We have boulders. We actually have some logs and things like that mixed in there. So we have different surfaces for different types of organisms to actually live on and grow. As we move along, a little bit more detail. This is actually right after it was built. You could see the water quality is still not great. We actually filmed this for our Pond Stars TV show, but what I loved about it was this wetland filter back over here. So this is that wetland filter. So what we're doing is we're force feeding all the water from the ecosystem through a layer of our snorkel, centipede, aquablocks, rocks and gravel, aquatic plants, all these different layers and pieces, which are actually really important because they're going to help to detoxify the water. So as that water flows through all of that stuff, it's going to break down all those nutrients in the water. So having an upflow biological filter is very, very effective, and it's a way for us to set up literally a home for different types of little organisms to feed off of all the stuff that's living and growing inside of the pond. Now, once we have all these pieces together, you can see from these results, we're going to have incredible water quality. We can create some incredible beauty. A recreational style pond is different for everybody. Certain people might just want to sit and look at their fish, relax and view their water lilies. Others are going to actually get in the water. They're different for everybody. Here's actually an old picture of myself, my wife Ellen, my two boys interacting with our water feature, which is just incredible. Again, this sums up what a recreational pond is. We had huge koi, we had beautiful water lilies. We created different environments for our boys to actually engage with water, which is perfect. I mean, this is exactly why I do what I do. I just love all the different components that are associated with this. So here we have kind of a rendering of what that feature is going to look like. They wanted to build it not only for themselves to actually swim in, but they actually want to create something for collared lizards. John, being a big reptile guy, he wanted to create a habitat where he could actually let his reptiles kind of roam around. This entire feature will actually be covered by a screened enclosure. They can kind of roam around and explore and climb on all these rocks and things like that, and he's going for more of a desert southwest look. Here's what we're going to be doing. So this space is about approximately 30 feet wide, and it's about 50 feet long all the way down over to here. So we have a pretty good space to actually work with. The team over at Earthworks has done an incredible job, doing some of these renderings and everything. So now what I want to do is I want to put the right pieces in place to really pull this thing off. Here's actually the back door to the property. They're going to come out onto a small little brick terrace area. From here, they're going to have incredible views that are going to open up to the rest of the property. And we're also going to put a waterfall back over here in this far corner just to create that life-giving oxygen. We want to create that circulation. I'm also going to kind of tuck right over here in this little corner over here. I want to put our intake bay. This is going to house the pumps. It's going to have those aqua blocks in place. It's going to draw all that water in to create a skimming effect, which is very important for controlling those nutrients. From here, we're going to have our pumps are actually going to be mounted on the outside of the enclosure. We're going to have our piping running around the outside perimeter and kind of coming into those waterfalls. We're actually going to do a big, long wetland filter kind of at this one end. We're going to have a series of underwater jets. So we actually have another plumbing run that's going to be kind of coming around, splitting off, and it's going to be discharging water strategically into different areas along this edge to create that nice push. The other thing that I want to do is I want to bring in some big logs and things like that because I just love that look. Here's a couple incredible renderings that they did. So what we have here, again, you can see that waterfall over here in the background. You could also see a little bit of what that structure is going to look like. So that screen structure is going to be going around everything, coming in with large character boulders. So I'm really looking forward to this project. Stay tuned. It's a good way for us to kind of get out of the cold climates up here in Chicago, head down south, and this will be one heck of a project. I hope you enjoy it. I am coming to you from St. Augustine, Florida. I just arrived. We're also connecting up with our buddies over at Earthworks. Jason, Sean, the entire Earthworks team is phenomenal. We've done some incredible stuff with them over the years. Jason and the guys, they started getting a lot of the stuff ready before our arrival. You can see we have incredible stone to work with. You know how I love to work with all the different types of stone. Let's go take a walk, see how the progress is going. Pipe is installed. This is going to feed the wetland filter, the jets, as well as the main waterfall. As usual, we got groundwater popping up. We are down in Florida, sandy soils, high groundwater table. It is the dry season, but we're still getting some moisture down there. So we're going to do kind of a drain pipe going through this entire area, do a little bit of a T, kind of pop out in this corner. We'll do a sump pit over in that section. That will allow them to put a pump inside to evacuate any of that standing water from underneath the liner. So we have the start of our initial trench coming in from this shallow section. This is about 3 feet deep of water. Our big challenge that we have right now is just the soft soil. When we start talking about unconsolidated soils, it means they have no cohesion. So when you liquefy it, it just moves. This material up on top, it's got a little bit more organic material in it, a little bit more solid. Stuff down here is just this pure sand. As we're digging, all that stuff is just slumping in on the side. You can see some big areas over here on the side that have just been collapsing in. We have to over dig everything. We're gonna have to build some structural walls on the inside of the liner, and then we'll have to backfill that area to reestablish those elevations that we want. We are gonna have some architectural walls down here in the bottom, and that's just because we're trying to save space. We also have some of these incredible logs that Jason brought out. The earthworks team, they always produce some incredible pieces for us. I mean, just check this thing out. So just this beautiful hollowed out log. Can't wait until that interacts with the water. Remember, we're looking at biodiversity when we're talking about natural pools. The wood, the rock, the aquatic plants. That's gonna stabilize the ecosystem for us.
It's mission critical.
It is.
It is.
Absolutely.
We've gotten to the depth that we need to be at to be able to get our under drain in and that kind of stuff. I just want to make sure that the trough for our brick wall is going to be deep enough so that we can compensate for base material underneath those bricks so that we get everything nice and level when we establish that bottom cornice, which will ultimately determine the final elevation of that brick wall.
So we got all of that base material stone in. We have our drain down in the bottom, popping out over on this side. Still a little bit squishy down in the bottom. What we've been doing is basically putting in stone, displacing everything. That pushes all the soft material off to the edges. We can scoop that out. We're gonna build our wall. We'll probably be about a foot in from that edge down there. Then what we'll have to do is just start backfilling everything around it. I feel really good at this point, as long as we can get in some of that stonework over on that back edge to hopefully stabilize everything, lock it all in place. The nice thing about working with this material, very strong, durable geotextile. This does not stretch. So what this will do is it'll spread the weight out over a bigger area, which is going to give us the necessary load-bearing capacity for the liner, as well as all of that stonework that we're going to be putting on top of it. We're going to start getting our aqua blocks and pump vaults in. We'll start backfilling around that. We are unloading the wall stone for the bottom. So we're going to have multiple things happening pretty quickly here, but we are making great progress so far this morning. It's always good when we start setting boulders. We just pumped out some of the excess water from below the liner. We don't have enough pressure on top of it to force all the water over to our pit yet. We're trying to get all this stuff in as quickly as possible so we can get a little bit of water in the bottom. So by having extra water plus the gravel, it's going to push that water over here where we can manage it. Once we start getting water in here, we'll start backfilling everything. We're now working on some of the steps. This is an important detail because we're looking for access to the water. There will be a little bit of an apron right here, so there's going to be some pavers coming out approximately 6 feet off of the house. We're going to have another wall right over here to match this wall, so that'll be built up on this edge. We want to have steps coming in because the water right at this point, this is 3 feet deep here. So we want to try to create a little bit of a meander coming in, allowing the homeowners access into the water. We started laying out our plumbing for a series of jets. I'm always looking at the water circulation. We don't want dead zones. 2 pumps for this particular project. They're going to be located on the outside of those pump vaults. Big character boulder is installed right at the edge of those stairs, pushing everybody from the doorway or out and around. We're working our way around that large peninsula. We got a really cool anchor stone right here. Now we're looking at diving back a little bit. We just dug a lot more soil out of that back corner. The other thing that we're looking at doing once we get that rock set, remember we got that beautiful log back here. So just been looking for different places to use that, and this could be a really good opportunity for that. Once we get that log in place, we'll come in front of it and we could dress it up any way we desire. I'd like to create a couple little layers maybe for some aquatic vegetation of some sort. Or whenever I'm setting logs, I love not only the different texture, but it's a different surface. Having different surfaces, different things for organisms to live on. Periphyton, which would be growing on more vegetation, logs, wood, and that type of stuff. And then you have epilithic type organisms, which are normally found in and around stone. I think that helps with the overall biodiversity. We are now coming in and digging out that secondary shelf area, which is going to tie into that main waterfall. Our next steps will be to install our wetland filter back over in this section, as well as building up the elevations for the water.